Hi, welcome to episode 4 of D Professionals, the Assessment Center. Today I'm going to talk about my assessment center experience, which thankfully landed me in the job that brought me to the company that I am still with today. Now, it's going to be based on my experience. Yours could be completely different, and I'm going to keep it really to the facts, really to what happened. So, my assessment center happened in 2010, so that was approximately 7 years ago, and coincidentally, in April when I'm shooting this video. So at the time, I was living in my home country in Nigeria, and I had to go to an assessment center that was all the way in Europe. Now, what did I do? I was working at the time a full-time job, so I had to tell, my manager and my team that I needed to travel. I didn't put any reason behind it, but I said, okay, I need to travel, so can I take about 2 days of leave? I mean, you're not going to tell your manager that you're traveling to another country for a job interview slash assessment center. So don't lie. Keep it to the facts. I said I had to travel, and they didn't press me for more details, thankfully. But if you're in the situation and you're pressed for details, try not to lie. Say it's for, uh, you know, uh, just say it was impromptu or something like that. And so I had to go to another country for my assessment center. Thankfully, all expenses were paid. This happened after I had two telephone interviews because I was interviewing for an international job. So I first had a call with the HR hiring manager, and then I had a call with the actual manager at the time who was based in another country. And then I had an online aptitude test. It was behavioral and quantitative. I had to do them fast, but I think it was based on the number of questions that you answer correctly. This was 7 years ago, so I can't remember all the details, but there was mathematical, quantitative analysis, and then there was the behavioral test, which I think had at least 40 questions in it. So after these three stages, initial phone call from an HR representative, quick phone call from the hiring manager, and then the aptitude test. I think they came in different orders. I think I first had to do the aptitude tests, and then I had the phone calls. And then, here was the assessment center. My flights were paid by the company. I went to Scandinavia actually. My hotel expenses were paid. I believe I had my day during the week. I think it was on a Thursday, so I flew on a Wednesday. I had my assessment center on the Thursday. And okay, I have to say that probably the most important point happened after the assessment center. But I'll talk about the assessment center, then I'll get you to the circumstances beyond all of our control that happened day after the assessment center. Now went into this foreign land, which I had never been to. It was my first time in that country. And I was met by the very nice recruitment head. The assessment center was held at a recruitment agency. So I went in and I dressed quite smartly. If I remember correctly, I was wearing a suit. I can't remember if it was a skirt suit or a trouser suit. This was a cold country. I did wear mid heels, not too high, and I noticed that the lady that was running the assessment center today, she was wearing some nice black heels with black pantyhose, and I noticed that because I do pay attention to shoes. I do like shoes and look at what people wear. So during the day, I believe we were four in the room. We had various assignments that we had to undertake. We had at the end of the assessment center, we also had to present. So we had a few tasks. I think we had at least two presentations, and then we had a personal presentation, and then we had a one-on-one interview with one of the people running the assessment center day. What I remember, what really stands out was that we had to work as a group, but each person had to play a role. So I acted a bit out of what I would normally do because normally I'm someone who would sit back and watch, and then after a few moments, then take the position that I wanted to take. But do this differently on your assessment center day. If you're someone like me, jump in there, jump right in there. Try to find where you fit in. Try to find where you'll contribute. The key here is to contribute. The key is to jump in. Don't overdo it. Don't be bullish. Don't be aggressive. Make sure that you've thought through the role that you want to play. If you want to, be the one that collects all the information, I think we had to ask each person a question about, okay, what would they do to solve this problem that we were asked to present? So I made sure that I took a role where I had to ask everyone, okay, what's your opinion about this? What's your opinion about this? I collected everything, and I believe, that I presented our final presentation. And I found this behavior of mine was repeated actually throughout my job. When we had to do group presentations, I always turned out to be the one presenting on stage. So jump in, contribute, find out where you fit in this team, and do that quickly, and make sure that you think through everything that you want to do. Be positive, and make sure that at the end of that assessment center, you have produced a tangible outcome that you can say, okay, I was responsible for the group putting this together in the presentation, making sense of what we wanted to present. And if you're someone that likes to present, get yourself out there on stage and put yourself out there. So in summary, what I would say that I took away from my assessment center was that I acted a little bit extra from what I would do. I, stepped out, I contributed, I jumped in. I didn't sit back and watch like I would normally do. And I have to reflect on an interview I had a while back with an oil company, where they asked me, okay, what would you do if you were thrown into a group of people and you just started a job? And I think I said that I would observe and then take a role that best suits me. Looking back, that was the wrong answer, and that was why I didn't get that particular job. So your assessment center, jump in, be active, and play a role. Now, after the assessment center, we had one-on-one interviews. I had a one-on-one interview with the lady in charge of the recruitment at the recruitment agency. It went really well. She was very nice. She was friendly. She was open, and I was myself. I tend to laugh sometimes, maybe a bit too much when I have interviews. But at the end of the day, I believe I was knowledgeable, and I was passionate about working at this company. I was passionate about what they do. I was passionate about ICT, information and communications technology, because that is a role I had been working in just before that, and it's what I studied at school. So I believe I was found to be a good fit for this company, and I'm still here today after 7 years. Now, what happened after the assessment center? Now, this was a circumstance beyond all of our controls, because it was a natural disaster. Actually, there was a volcano that went off in one of the Scandinavian countries, which actually blocked the airspace. So the next day when I was supposed to fly, one of the big carriers there had cancelled all the flights. So I was actually there in the hotel with a few of the other potential candidates that went for the assessment center. So we were figuring out what to do. I stayed online. I kept looking for flights. I stayed in touch with the HR lady at the company, not the recruitment agency, but directly with the HR lady at the company. I also stayed in touch with the head of the graduate program, who was also there at the assessment center, and I made sure that I communicated to them, okay, this was what I had to do, because I actually had a limited visa. So I had to go to the immigration office there to extend it for the few days that I needed to be there extra. And they said, okay, this is this letter. Whenever you're able to leave, just show it at the border. And so, okay, first of all, I had to sort out the legality of my stay, and then I had to sort out finding a flight. I think what the head of the graduate program really liked was how I handled this stressful situation where there was a natural disaster and there were circumstances beyond our control. And I managed to actually, with the help, of course, of her assistant, to secure a flight and leave in peace. So everything went well, and I think I even had a night where I went out clubbing with one of the other potential candidates, who actually got a job at this company and is still with the company today. So that was a really great experience for me. Before that, I had traveled a lot. I think I said in one of my earlier episodes that I've lived in a lot of countries. For this particular assessment center, I traveled to a country that I had never been before. It was much colder than where I was living, and I absolutely loved it. I enjoyed the assessment center. Even though there was a natural disaster, I made sure, because I'm someone very, very fast at my fingers, I can easily find things. And I think this was something that actually contributed to me getting the job. The way I handled that stressful situation, the way I found a flight, the way I handled the process, I did not panic, and I left as soon as possible without thinking of, cycling 100 miles and then jumping on a boat to get to the border where I can get a flight, which some people actually construed such plans, getting on a train and so on and so forth. I stayed calm, and I think I only stayed an extra 2 days. And during this time, I stayed in contact with my home country. I told them, oh, I'm in Scandinavia and I'm actually stuck because of this ash cloud. So long story short, finished my assessment center, went back to my job without any issues, because I told them where I was, and I took a leave, and I came back, and a few days later, I was offered the job in the graduate program at the company where I still happen to be today after 7 years. So thanks for watching this episode. It's a bit long. If you have any questions specifically about what to do when you get to an assessment center, or any details, if you'd like to know any details about my experience, I'll try to remember as much as possible and let you know. So thanks for watching this episode.